Thank you for tuning in to MacReview Television, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Taiwan Outlook, the program that lets you see the different faces and hear the different voices of Taiwan. I'm your host, Wu Guo. As most of us know, that non-government organizations, or NGOs, have always played an important role in Taiwan's overall diplomacy. And on today's program, we're delighted to have Ambassador Wu Rong-Chuan, who is currently the Vice Chairperson of the Non-Government Organization Affairs Committee under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of China, to discuss the role and the functions of non-government organizations in Taiwan's foreign policy. Welcome to the program, Ambassador.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Wu. It is my pleasure to be invited to Taiwan Outlook to discuss about Taiwan's NGOs and their perspective.
Okay, good. And it's really a pleasure to have you here on the program. Ambassador, I'm going to start off with something very generic. I'm going to ask you if you can give us a general definition of what is a non-government organization,
Yes.
NGO.
According to the United Nations, a non-governmental organization is a non-profit voluntary citizens group organized at national, local, even international level.
Okay. And what is the general value that we see in terms of NGO, in terms of overall policy conduct?
NGO are task-oriented and driven by a group of people with the same interests.
Okay.
So NGOs, they are performing a wide variety of service and functions. They bring policies attention to the government and not only initiate and advocate, they also monitoring the government's implementation of different policies.
Okay.
And I would like to also to mention about the definition from the Wikipedia.
Okay.
A non-governmental official organization is a legal constitute private organizations which is totally different with government functions.
Okay.
And the last definition I want to give you is the definition from the World Bank.
Okay.
The World Bank says like this: any private organizations is undertaking, releasing job, promoting the interests of all the mankind are defined as NGOs.
Okay. As I said at the very beginning of the program, that NGOs have played a big part in Taiwan's overall diplomacy. And can you then give us a brief description of the state of development for Taiwan's NGOs today?
I think that any development of NGOs is closely related to that country's political development.
Okay.
As we can see that in 1980s, after the abrogation of the temporary provision effectively during the period of communist rebellion, the people, civilized society was naturally formed. So at that time, the Taiwan society had become more and more open. So the civil society naturally formed. So there was a period of forming of civil society in 1980s.
Okay.
But in 1990s, that is a period of organization of Taiwan NGOs. Until 2000, there is a full-fledged development of Taiwan NGOs.
Okay. And Ambassador, you've been assigned to overseas assignments both in the Caribbean and also in North America. Then you must have seen the growth and the development of NGOs in other countries as well. Can you then share with us what are some of the preconditions that you have been able to identify that will help to facilitate the development of NGOs in a country?
Yes, as I just mentioned, the definitions from the United Nations to the World Bank, NGOs are characterized by, number one, they must be very independent from the government. Secondly, they are self-governance. They don't involve in any governmental affairs. Lastly is that they are operating individually. Although there are many international associations, but the previous three prerequisites, they are the NGOs.
So during your overseas assignments in the United States and in St. Kitts and Nevis, Have you seen any, particular experiences of the growth and development of the NGOs that struck you as most impressive?
Yes, it's very important in any civil society that NGO must play a very vital role. When I was the Director General in Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Atlanta, Georgia, between 2003 and 2008, I was deeply involved in an NGO called the Rotary Club. Since I am a Rotarian, so I fully utilize the functions and organizations of Rotary Club to expand, to promote the job in my office. For instance, when I'm going to visit one of the 6 states under the service of our office, which are North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and I have to contact the Rotary Club, and then they will arrange me to have a lecture in their weekly meeting. And the second day, there are many people approaching me because through the NGO operation and function, you can easily make the publicity for that purpose. Secondly, since there is a huge group of Taiwanese Americans and they form different NGOs such as Taiwan Chamber of Commerce and other cultural groups which are really assets to promote our job in the office. For instance, I will invite members of Taiwan Chamber of Commerce in Atlanta, and they will go with me to visit different Chamber of Commerce in that 6 states, and they help the office to promote trade and investment to the Eastern United States.
Okay, and the fact is that we talk about NGO, that you mentioned a very important characteristic of the NGO is that they need to operate independently and individually from the government. And given that fact, that why did we have an NGO Affairs Committee set up under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the Republic of China government in Taiwan?
Okay, in view of the booming development of Taiwan's NGOs in 1990s, so the Ministry of Foreign Affairs organized and established this NGO Affairs Committee with the purpose of the following 3 points. Number 1 is to identify the important Taiwan NGOs so as to undertake national diplomacy. Secondly, is to assist Taiwan's NGOs in their international participation. And lastly, that we would like to assist our Taiwan's NGOs to build up a cooperation and alliance relations with INGOs, which are international non-governmental organizations.
And given the fact that these are the primary purpose for setting up the NGO Affairs Committee under the MOFA, are you happy so far, since its establishment back in the year of 2007? Are you happy with its progress and has been able to obtain the 3 objectives that you just mentioned?
Yeah, since the establishing of this committee 10 years ago, we have already experienced a tremendous support and momentum from Taiwan's NGOs. In fact, we have very encouraging for Taiwan's NGOs assistance in our foreign relations. And especially our committee is one of the 3 departments in our foreign ministries to deal with private sectors. So we always very, very encouraging and very confident that we will be able to assist Taiwan's NGOs for their international participation.
What are some of the programs or projects, Ambassador, under your leadership, the committee plans to do to help Taiwan's NGO to become more regionally and internationally visible and active?
Regionally, domestically, we sponsor different kind of training programs for our domestic NGOs. Number 1 is that we cooperate with our Institute of Development for an NGO training program for the Taiwan NGOs leadership. Secondly, we go to different schools, different universities. We invite those students who are interested in NGOs or NGOs to give them a preliminary idea of NGOs' operation and functions. Lastly, we also assist our domestic NGOs to participate in international activities and seminars.
Okay.
And I would like to mention that, first of all, we have a small and very humble budget, about 70 million US Taiwan dollar
a year
annual visit to support Taiwan's NGOs for their international activities and participate in different kinds of seminars.
So far, how many overall, I mean, the NGOs in Taiwan, have you been able to support or given some type of assistance in their activities internationally or domestically?
Yes, Dr. Wu, let me give you a very rough picture about the development of Taiwan's NGO. There are about 2,164 NGOs which are involved in international activities.
Okay.
So roughly we divided into 5 categories. Number 1 is the science and technology and public health.
Okay.
We have 541. And second categories, we have culture and academic. We have 374. Then agriculture and environmental protection. We have 353. The fourth category is the philanthropic society. We have 291. And about the business and trade investment, we have 244. Lastly, we have a public policy NGOs, which number is 181. So totally is
about
2,164. Don't forget that in 1980s, we only had about 53. And then in 1990, it soared to 1,800.
Okay.
And that is why in 2010, we have 2,164.
That's very impressive growth, Ambassador. We need to take a break on our program, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Ambassador Wu Rong-Chuan, who's going to talk more about Taiwan's NGOs. I'll see you in just a few minutes. Welcome back to the second segment of today's program here on the Taiwan Outlook. I'm your host, Ray Guo. We will continue our conversation with Ambassador Wu Rong-Chuan, who's currently the Vice Chairperson of the Non-Governmental Organization Affairs Committee under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in the Republic of China. Ambassador, what we're talking about, as the world become more globalized, there are a number of issues that transcend national boundaries or, divisions of religion, of people. For example, issues of human rights, issues of humanitarian aid, women's rights, environmental protection, and also climate change. These are the things, of course, that are primary concerns of many people, many governments around the world. Certainly, Taiwan is included in that batch. However, because of the international political situation, sometimes we are not able to participate at the official diplomatic level. So sometimes we need the participation of NGOs from Taiwan to be present at those international meetings and conferences and share with other participants about the experiences and some of the lessons that we have learned in environmental protection, human rights, diplomatic development, democracy, and other things. So are you seeing that some of the NGOs in Taiwan are moving in that direction of becoming more internationally oriented?
Indeed, the United Nations Millennium Development Goals stipulates very clearly about the future concerns of the mankind. Those issues were depicted, as you just mentioned. The primary issues, yes. And certainly, Taiwan's NGO, they are developing toward this kind of direction. For instance, the public health is the strength of Taiwan's NGO. And we also involve deeply in many critical issues, such as anti-human trafficking in persons. So as I just mentioned, our active participation in NGOs demonstrate Taiwan's national strength and the momentum of Taiwan's NGO. I give you two examples for Taiwan's NGO leadership occupy a very important position in international NGOs. Number one is Dr. Zhang Meihui. She is the director of the Department of Pediatrics of Taiwan University Hospital. Currently, she is also the president of the Federation of International Pediatrical Gastroenterology, Pathology, and Nutrition. So they are going to host 2012 annual convention, 2012. There will be more than 3,000 professionals coming to Taiwan for this convention. Secondly, I'm going to mention about Dr. Li Yuanzhe, the Nobel Prize laureate. He is also the president emeritus of our academic syndicat. He's the president-elect of International Council of Science. This International Council of Science, in fact, is a United Nations for the scientific world. So Dr. Li, we are going to play a very, very important role in INGO for the next 2 or 3 years.
So there are a number of Taiwan's NGOs that have been very active along with other NGOs on the international level. So why don't we name some of the other Taiwan NGOs that we often hear about? For example, Foresee, for example, World Vision, and also the Red Cross Society of Taiwan. These NGOs, because of their own special orientation, have also been very active on the international stage. Have they been able to contribute to the number of different causes that you mentioned, including human rights, humanitarian aid, women's rights, environmental protection, and other issues?
Certainly. Those three major NGOs in Taiwan are playing very important role internationally. Take the Tzu Chi Foundation as an example. They have branch offices in 75 countries. They always come to the rescue first time. So we have tremendous support from them. Secondly, about the World Vision. This is also very important NGOs. According to their program, they have supported more than 100,000 children around the world. Lastly, talking about the Red Cross, sure, this is the most important NGOs in Taiwan. Through the Red Cross, they also implementing many different areas of international cooperation projects with their counterparts.
Okay, and as these organizations, of course, they get their fundings from different sources, some of which from private donations and corporate donations. Has the government ever played a role in terms of their funding activities, how to raise funds to support their operations?
Yeah, talking about the financial assistance to NGOs. This is a very clear definition that the NGOs are independently from the government. That is why the government do not involve in any fundraising of NGOs. However, I just mentioned that our NGO Affairs Committee, we support Taiwan's NGOs for their international participation. As far as the funding of Taiwan's NGO, I would like to present to you a little bit more specific figures. There are about 50 billion NT dollar collected to Taiwan's NGO, and about a little bit more than half of them goes to the religious groups. And then the rest of them going to major NGOs such as Taiwan Child and Family Fund, and Red Cross, World Vision Taiwan, and Taiwan like Eden Social Welfare Foundation, and other humanitarian NGOs.
And as far as, one of the other, we just mentioned, Tzu Chi, is very well known, as you said. Anytime you see on television news, there is a disaster someplace around the world, Tzu Chi, you probably send a delegation out there to assist, to help the people in need, maybe within a very short period of time. And Tzu Chi certainly has been a very visible actor on behalf of all the Taiwan NGOs on the international stage. And for somebody, for an organization like Tzu Chi, what are some of the things that the government, for example, your committee, can do to help Tzu Chi to even become more active, more visible on the international and regional levels?
That is correct, because with the more than 100 offices abroad, the foreign ministry certainly will be able to play assist role in Tzu Chi's purpose.
Okay.
For instance, when I was the Director General of Taipei office in Atlanta, Georgia, we cooperated with Tzu Chi's branch office in Atlanta for the relieving job in Katrina, Hurricane Katrina. So certainly our foreign offices abroad, we all have this kind of vision that Tzu Chi Foundation is so important, and this constitute Taiwan people's philanthropy. So that is why we like to cooperate with Tzu Chi Foundation.
Okay, more closely.
More closely.
And also, Ambassador, let me ask you, you mentioned that now, in Taiwan, there are over about 2,100 NGOs that have registered with the government that are considered Taiwanese non-governmental organizations. But we've only been able to mention a few, like Tzu Chi, like Red Cross, like, the World Vision. But do you foresee that some of these more prominent NGOs in Taiwan can play a leading role in terms of helping some of the newer ones, some of the more emerging NGOs in Taiwan in their continued growth and development?
Certainly, as I just mentioned, our NGO develops according to our national strength.
Okay.
In the public health, in the science and technology, we are playing a very important role. I would like to give you an example, like this Taiwan Dentist Association.
Yes.
This Taiwan Dentist Association, they not only cooperate with international NGOs, they also involve with the NGO in mainland China, and they cooperate with them. They also give them lots of experience, especially when in mainland China, NGOs are in a very preliminary stage.
Exactly. That was, going to lead up to my next question, is the fact that we understand that since President Ma Ying-jeou came into office in May of 2008, cross-strait relations, especially in the economic domain, have been very, active. There's a lot of exchanges and contacts across the Taiwan Strait in economic relations. But also in the area of NGO activities, have you seen a lot of exchanges, between the two sides? But, like you said, mainland China is at a different stage of national development compared with us in Taiwan. So the NGO activities naturally are not very visible or active in mainland China. So how do you think that maybe in the future the NGOs on both sides can facilitate, can help each other to grow, to become more involved in activities and events on the other side? Do you foresee such a trend developing because of the cross-strait improvement of relations?
Certainly, with the increasing exchanges between the Taiwan Strait, the NGOs of our two sides, they were engaged and are going to engage even more tensely on their cooperation. What I meant is that the NGOs in Taiwan, they are so experienced in international participation. And on the other hand, in mainland China, their counterparts, they need Taiwan's assistance and experience. And we also experience many good examples for the cooperation between the two sides.
Yes, because we can remember the earthquake in Sichuan, and certainly there was a lot of love and compassion pouring through organizations like Taiwan's Red Cross Society, through Tzu Chi, to help the victims in Sichuan earthquake.
Yeah.
Okay, so certainly we look forward to more activities and exchanges between the two sides along the NGO front. We need to take another break on our program today, and when we come back, we will continue our conversation with Ambassador Wu Rong-Chuan, who is currently the Vice Chairperson of the NGO Affairs Committee under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Taiwan. I'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back to our program here on the Taiwan Outlook. I'm your host, Ray Guo. We will continue our discussion with Ambassador Wu Rong-Chuan, who's currently the Vice Chairperson of the Non-Governmental Organization Affairs Committee here in Taiwan under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ambassador, we talk about Taiwan's NGO being very active, both on the international and also the regional level. Can you then tell us what is the state of participation for Taiwan's NGOs at the international NGOs level? Are we having problems of being part of the international NGOs, or are we having improved relations with other member organizations as well as with a number of the leading INGOs?
Although there are certain constraints for our international politics,
yes.
but I would say Taiwan's NGOs, they play a very important role. And I don't see any difficulty for the exchange or cooperation between Taiwan's NGOs and INGOs.
Okay.
In fact, Taiwan's NGOs, with their strength in agriculture, science and technology, and public health, they're not only leading the world, they're also assisting third world countries' NGO through different kinds of seminars and activity, especially cooperation projects.
Okay.
For instance, for the time being, the NGO Affairs Committee, we are assisting Taiwan's NGO, assisting them in implementing more than 10 different kinds of international cooperation projects in the fields of public health, property reduction, medical care, ecological protection, anti-human trafficking, and humanity assistance. I would like to especially mention about property reduction. As you know that during the Vietnam War, there were 15 million tons of bombs were dropped in Vietnam, and about 10% of them are unfunctioned. So there are so many unexploded explosives. So people in the Quang Tri province of Vietnam, they suffer tremendous for this. And we are able to cooperate with the very famous United States NGOs called Humpty Dumpty Institute, HDI. We cooperate with them in removing those unexploded ordnance from Quang Tri province. And then we assist those victims to grow mushroom. This is the co-mushroom with a mission program. So in other words, this is a rolling cooperation program. For the first stage, we donate $200,000 and we assist those victims of farmers to grow mushrooms. And then with the profits of mushroom, they assist a team so-called Renew. That Renew project is to removing those UXOs, the so-called unexploded ordnance from Quang Tri province. So this is a continuous rolling project, a very good and very typical cooperation project. Use Taiwan's strengths and connect to the international trend for removing those UXOs.
Okay, and I think a lot of people, along with myself, are very delighted to learn that you foresee no problem in terms of Taiwan's NGO being a part of a number of leading international NGOs. But as we also know, that there's always been the issue of Taiwan's international space, in the context of cross-strait relations. Although, since President Ma Ying-jeou became, president, that he has, pronounced the policy of diplomatic truce. And I suppose in the last few years, there's been not so much of a cutthroat competition between the two sides in the area of diplomacy. But how's the level of Taiwan NGO participation vis-a-vis China's on the international level?
As everybody knows, that Chinese government views Taiwan as a renegade province.
Yes.
So it also teaches its NGOs to constrain, to limit the space of Taiwan's NGO. Unfortunately, these years, few cases emerged. I want to mention two examples. Number one is the AMSA, Asian Medical Students Association. Originally, this AMSA, Taiwan, they registered in the International Medical Students Association under the name of Taiwan. And then when China, they would like to participate into this International Medical Students Association, they asked the NGOs to downgrade the name from Taiwan to Taiwan, China. And since this AMSA is an independent operated NGOs, so they discuss with the NGO leadership with the foreign arguments that AMSA is an independent and they are non-governmental and it shouldn't be involved in any politics. And fortunately, the INGO, they restore the original name. Second is I want to give you the example is the SRA, the Society of Risk Analysis. This is also an example of China. They ask the NGO to change the name of our NGOs or to downgrade the status of our NGO as a precondition for their entries or participant to that NGO. And that is why we always urge Chinese government don't interfere with NGOs' affairs, because if they are NGOs, they should be independent from any interference from any governments. And I foresee that in the near future, our NGO will be more well-equipped to deal with this kind of questions.
Okay. And let's shift the focus a little bit to the recent earthquake in Japan. And that happened, of course, in the month of March. And the earthquake was very, devastating. Over 10,000 people lost their lives and their, homes. And then also the fact is that following the earthquake, there was the, nuclear fallout from the, Daiichi power plant. And certainly caused a lot of concern, not only for the Japanese people, but for the neighboring countries around Japan, like Korea, like Taiwan, and China. And in the process, we understand that our NGOs, including, Tzu Chi, have played a big role in terms of the subsequent rescue and recovery mission. Can Ambassador Wu then share with us what are some of the things that our Taiwan NGOs were able to do to contribute to in terms of the recovery and the rescue mission following the devastating earthquake in Japan back in March?
Yes, the unprecedented March 11 earthquake in Japan, combined with a tsunami and the nuclear active fallout, that is a major catastrophe in recent years in Japan. Immediately after the earthquake, we voiced our concern to Japanese government, and we had a very good response from both Japanese government and our Taiwan NGOs. Take the donation as an example. We have already collected more than 1.26 billion US dollar for the releasing job in Japan, which is equivalent to the donation from the United States. According to media's reporting yesterday, that our donation has already scored many positive response and appreciation from Japanese government and people. As far as the relieving goods is concerned, we also got a very, very active response from our NGOs. In March 13, we got the message from Japanese government that they need a lot of generators, clothing, and food stuff.
Yes.
And we started to collect those goods from our private sector, especially our major religious NGO. And we telephoned 5 major religious NGO, which is Foresee Foundation, and the Yi Guan Dao, and the International Buddhism Light Association, and then the Dharma Drum Social Improvement Foundation.
Yes.
And in few hours, we were able to collect about 6 tons of goods. And then the second early morning day, we then sent those goods together with our rescue team to Tokyo.
All right.
And for the next 2 weeks, we have managed to collect more than 575 tons of goods. And about 100 of them has already been shipped by airplanes. And another 300 tons were shipped by cargo ship. And they are all arrived in Japan. And I believe that according to the information from our representative office in Tokyo, they have spared no efforts in cooperating with religious branches and also Japanese government in distributing those goods to the different destinations.
That's good. Well, certainly the outpouring of love, of assistance, and compassion from Taiwan to the victims of the Japanese earthquake was certainly, brought tears to a lot of people's eyes. We're going to take a final break on our program today. When we come back, we will continue this very important conversation with Ambassador Wu Rong-Chuan and talk about the future for Taiwan's NGOs. I'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back to the final segment of today's program here on the Taiwan Outlook. I'm your host, Wu, where we'll continue our conversation with Ambassador Wu Rong-Chuan, who's currently the Vice Chairperson of the Non-Governmental Organization Affairs Committee under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in the Republic of China on Taiwan. Ambassador, we understand that Taiwan's NGOs have been active, participating at the international level. Has it been in the past or something may happen in the future that maybe we can get some of the leading INGOs to come to Taiwan to set up a branch office or set up a secretariat as a base in Taiwan?
Surely. Encouraging INGOs to set up their branch offices or secretaries in Taipei is one of our major missions of the committee.
All right.
And we have already seen one very good example. The International Green Cross Association had set up an International Environmental Protection Center in Taiwan, cooperate with Environmental Quality Protection Foundation in Taiwan. With the social openness and political freedom and the convenient transport, we see no reason that we are constrained or limit Taipei as the operation center for INGO, especially in East Asia.
Okay, so in the future, we can possibly see more and more leading INGOs to come to Taiwan and set up a branch office or set up a secretariat in Taiwan.
Yeah, especially that our committee, we have forged a very important policy is to financially compensate the expenses of INGOs to set up their branch offices and secretariats in Taipei or in other cities of Taiwan. So this is a very good mechanism to encourage INGO to have their presence in Taiwan.
Okay. And Ambassador, we understand that they are looking ahead to Taiwan's NGOs participating at the international level. Of course, you mentioned earlier about possible, sometimes pressure from Beijing. and hopefully that would be somewhat reduced and lowered because of improvements in cross-strait relations. But what are some of the other challenges that you can foresee for Taiwan NGOs in the future, that when we're willing to offer assistance and willing to offer our services to people or to countries that may not be so receptive, or willing to take those assistance?
Yes, NGOs, they are independent from the government. However, with the special characteristics of Taiwan's NGOs, we would like to use the NGO Affairs Committee as a platform for not only the information, but also the activities and cooperation projects between Taiwan NGOs and INGOs. And the major problem or major challenge for Taiwan NGOs for their international participation is the capacity building. Because if you want to involve INGO effectively, you have to improve your proficiency, especially in foreign language and professionalism. So in order to occupy a special or certain leadership in INGOs, we are able to play more role in international arena. That is why the NGO Affairs Committee, we encourage and support financially for the leadership of NGOs in Taiwan to INGOs for different kind of seminar, even a long period of training, so as to build up their capacity.
Okay, and as we know, Taiwan has reached a point of a very stable democracy and also a very mature market economy. And where are the level that maybe the NGO activities are most active, compared with a lot of the developing or neighboring countries? Given the fact that we often talk about, hey, this is the perfect time for Taiwan to demonstrate to the world about our soft power, about our smart power, and how then, Ambassador Wu, the number of Taiwan NGOs can help our country to promote our soft power and smart power to the rest of the world.
Indeed, the so-called smart power of Taiwan has already contributed tremendously to the foreign relations of our country. We so-called pride of Taiwan in the fields of music, dancing, science, arts, academic, even food. So we are very concerned for Taiwan's NGOs to further advance their participation in terms of Taiwan's soft power.
Okay, and in terms of some of the things that you foresee that we haven't done enough, maybe in other areas like, maybe culture, education, or, language, there are the things that maybe your office are planning that in the future, that in addition to what you mentioned as music, or dancing, or food, that we can also put more resources and efforts into those areas of soft power?
Yes, we always holding this kind of opinion that the best Beijing dog is not in Beijing but in Taipei.
Okay.
That is why we have spared no efforts in promoting the soft power, the small power of Taiwan. And in fact, that our ministry, we have already instructed our 117 offices abroad to further promote Taiwan's strength in the fields of food and culture, so as to further promote Taiwan's image. And we need Taiwan's NGO to implement this kind of cooperation projects because they naturally representing the very, very facts of Taiwanese version of Chinese culture.
Of course. And Ambassador, of all the NGOs that you have come across that are available or registered in Taiwan, do you see an area or two areas that we still need more participation from volunteers, from NGOs that can help Taiwan to promote our image internationally and regionally?
Yes, there are many overseas Taiwanese compatriots.
Yes.
And we need those compatriots to help Taiwan in parsing Taiwan's image and assist Taiwan's national and public diplomacy.
Yes.
For instance, there are more than 500,000 Taiwanese Americans in different states, and they form different kinds of NGOs, not only Taiwan Chamber of Commerce, but arts and culture and other professional organizations or associations. And they are playing a very important role. We urge those overseas compatriots, NGOs, they will contact and cooperate with our foreign embassies, representing offices, so as to implement different kind of projects, because they represent not only their presence in the foreign country, they also representing their original nation, that is the Republic of China and Taiwan. And we have full confidence that our foreign office, they are going to not only to encourage financially, but they are also to devote fully with our overseas Taiwanese-oriented NGOs to promote Taiwan's national interests.
Okay. And Ambassador, lastly, you mentioned a very important point, is the fact that we have millions of overseas Taiwanese Americans, for example, in the United States. And then what is important, through the activities of these NGOs, that we educate the next generation of overseas Taiwanese, to grow up identifying the culture of Taiwan, or understand the soft power of Taiwan. Do you think that there are areas that maybe we can do more in terms of, trying to help the younger generations of overseas compatriots to enhance their understanding of today's Taiwan, also the kinds of cultural heritage that they are, presented with? Do you think there are more areas that we can, help in terms of growth and development in that area?
Since Taipei is the Chinese culture's capital,
yes.
So for the last few years, our government has organized different kind of programs so as to educate overseas Taiwanese second generation to familiar with the latest development of Taiwan. For instance, we had a program, we select college students from the United States and articulate very good programs, let them to have an intern in both governmental institutes, yes, or private sectors for 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
And then those young Taiwanese Americans, they're not only familiar themselves with the Taiwan's latest development, they also can promote friendship among them, because they have no opportunity to know each other. And when they come back to Taiwan, they come back to the country of their origin, and they feel even more comfortable to associate with each other. And our governmental and private sectors, they fully utilize the professionalism of those young generations, and to have a win-win
situation,
fruitful result.
Yes, I certainly know that this program is being very productive and help the younger generations of Taiwanese Americans, for example, in the United States, to enhance their understanding of today's Taiwan, both in terms of politics, economy, and society. Thank you very much, Ambassador Wu, for being on the program today. Certainly being a pleasure and an educational experience talking with you, and certainly good luck to you in all your private and professional endeavors in the future.
Thank you for your invitation, Dr. Wu.
Thank you. I want to thank you for watching our program today. I'll see you next time on Macroview Television. Thank you very much.